Well, welcome back to another Coffee and a Chat. I told you in the middle of the night I had a few things on my heart I want to share with you. So here's another one. So this is not some story out of my life or anything. This is something that's going on right now, but it's a reminder. So we have this old computer. I don't even know how old that thing is. It's old. It's an old laptop. Very, very old. Marvin's had that laptop longer than he's had me. So it's ancient because we know I'm ancient. And it's had problems different times. I mean, we've had that into the computer repair guy, and he's always like, this computer's really old. It's outdated. I mean, and now it's really bad because it hasn't been into the repair place in probably 5 years. But, he's always like, you need to get a different computer and quit using this one because, one day, it's just not going to work anymore. And, and I've thought over the years that I really shouldn't be so dependent. I mean, I'm not a tech person at all, but I don't have a typewriter anymore, so you use the word processor on your computer and it's very convenient, very easy. I know how to do that and print it out and whatever and do my Bible studies on there and, and it's, yeah, and I've been thinking for a long time, you really shouldn't be doing that, Angie. You should go back to the old way because you don't know. You don't know, when that computer does crash, because it's done it before, it's over other computers, I've had other computers, and it's a big bummer because I ain't techie. Back up your stuff, and now you're supposed to back it up to some cloud? How am I supposed to get something off of a cloud? I mean, this is all, I don't know. So I don't back things up. I mean, I used to, back when there were floppies, the computer guy would always be like, you need to put it on the floppy. Well, then that went away and, and the thumb drives and, and I'm still dealing with thumb drives, hoping they don't crash because they have a shelf life too. So, it's one of those things. I ought to do this. I ought to do that. Should be doing something different. Should at least print off a hard copy of this in case something were to happen. Oh, it'll be fine. I'll get it later. So starting yesterday, I can't get the computer to come on. I mean, it comes on, but it won't start. Okay. And I told Marvin, I think this is it. And so everything that's on there, I probably lost. And, and it started stressing me out. But here's the thing. If that is the big crash, the death, the end, I will find a way to go on even with whatever I've lost on there. I will figure it out because that's what we do in life. And it made me think about death. We've had some more deaths. Seems like the week can't go by that somebody we know doesn't die. And our pastor's wife, she'd been battling cancer for quite a while, but she was doing really good and they had a real positive outlook and she was doing everything that the doctors recommended she do. And the last I knew was things were good. And we had not gone to church here 2 weeks ago. We had not gone to church that Sunday. I think it was me that held us up some health issues, and Marvin usually tries to stay if I'm having a bad episode or something. He tries to stay nearby and make sure I'm okay. So we weren't in church. And so Thursday comes along, and so the pastor had called, and so I thought, well, he's probably wondering where we were. And Marvin came and said, pastor just called, and I'm like, yeah. And I go, wondering, wondering why we weren't in, making sure we're okay or whatever, why we weren't in church. And so he said, he told me that his wife died, you know. And I'm saying it like that because, I mean, she was a friend of ours. We knew her, but I just don't want to use people's names. So anyway, he had told Marvin that she had passed like a week and a half ago from when he was calling. And Marvin, he goes, I was like, oh my word, we didn't know. Nobody, and we've seen people and talked to people, and nobody said anything to us. So that was really weird and very shocking because we had no idea that she had got to a point where evidently she had. And it sounds like it went really quick though. But, pastor said, well, I was thinking, I don't know why you hadn't called me to check on me and make sure I was okay, because I knew you would. And then I thought, what if you didn't know? And so he goes, so I called, and so he had to tell us. So as soon as Marvin told me, I called him right back, and to give my condolences and stuff, and let him know we love him and all. But that death is hitting me in a little different way than the other ones. Like, I don't know that any death has hit me quite like hers is hitting me. I'm happy for her because I know she is healed now, and she is at peace. She's with the Lord. It's a good thing. I feel horrible for him. They're one of those couples that, they're just very married, very much, at her service, one of the people that shared had said, when you saw one, you saw the other, because they were always together. And they were best friends. I mean, you could tell they had a really close relationship. It was a good marriage and all. And, all the more where I just am like, how's he going to, navigate through this? And I've been praying for him and everything, but it's been like really shaking me up. And so at her service, this one woman was sharing, and she was talking about how she's gone, and all that, how she's absent now, that she's not at the table playing cards with, when they have a card game going anymore. She is not there, when the grandkids have a big moment or whatever, that you see and feel her absence. She's gone. And then she said that there's no more reaching across the bed at night for that touch. And then she goes, I'm not talking about anything sexual. I'm just talking about those of us that are married and all. We know that there's just that thing when you're laying next to your spouse in the middle of the night where you just reach over and you can touch them and know they're there, and how that's comforting and everything. And that really got to me. That one really struck me because, see, I reach across the bed at night, all night long. And usually, even if he's sound asleep, I'll reach across, and Marvin will take hold of my hand, and I'll just lay there holding his hand. And it just comforts me knowing he's there. And I've gotten in this thing, because even in my sleep, I'll reach over and I'll pat for him, because I've woke myself up doing it. And Marvin usually gets up before me, usually. And so I'll, in the wee hours of the morning, or when he gets up, if I reach over there and he's not there, I take hold of one of his pillows, and I'll like lay it down like it's him, and then just hug that pillow. Like, I just need to feel that he's there, even though he's not, but I can snuggle up to that pillow because it smells like him, and so it still gives me that sense of his presence. And so when this woman said that reality, I think all of it's feeling very personal to me, because Marvin and I are very close. We're each other's best friends. We're almost always together. So usually if you see one of us, you see the other. Not always. I mean, there's sometimes, when he has to go to a doctor's appointment and I have to go to something else, and we aren't together. And I hate when we're not together. I love when we are together, even like tonight when I, wasn't feeling very good, And one of the dogs had woke us up anyway, and so we'd got up for that, and then I really wasn't feeling good, and Marvin was, sitting with me, and then eventually we got back to bed and just, talking in the wee hours of the morning about whatever. Now, we were talking about Jesus, and that's usually what we end up talking about, and I love that. But, whatever, even if you're just talking about what you might want to be doing tomorrow, or, reorganizing a room, or it doesn't even matter. It's just that being together thing. It's one of the things I love most about marriage. I love that I can reach across the bed and I know he's there. And if he's not, I've got his pillow, and I know he's just on the other side of the bathroom door. That's where he's at. And so I guess that reality, that what our pastor's going through right now, one day that's going to be either Marvin or me. Even though, we're like my mom and dad were. Oh, we just want the Lord to take us both together at the same time, and then nobody's left behind. But that seldom happens. It's a rare thing to happen. And odds are that's not what God has planned for us, but we don't know. So one day, one of us is going to get to go home to be with Jesus. They're the lucky one. Well, the other one has to stay here a little longer, and they're the one that's going to have to navigate through that and bear through that. And we've talked about it. I don't know, maybe, I hope this is like normal and we're not just morbid wackadoodles, but Marvin and I talk about stuff about when here's my wishes when I go. Here's what, this is what I, is important to me. Here's what, and if you're going to go, here's what I need you to tell me first. And that whole, have you prepared the other person? It's like I handle all the finances and Marvin handles all the maintenance, and, do I know what needs to be done if he were gone? Does he know what needs to be done if I were gone? It's like that computer sitting there. I should have been doing backups. I should have pulled stuff off of there. I shouldn't have been so dependent on it. And because when you write something down on paper, it doesn't crash. Now, the paper can get lost. It can get torn, whatever. I mean, there's always a way you can lose information. But it's not going to just crash and it's sitting in that box over there and you can't access anything in there. So you don't have to worry about that. But just, it's been a reminder to me that I need to be talking to the Lord about what are the things that I need to do in preparation. What is it that I need to make sure that Marvin would have if I were to be the first to go? What are the things I need from him that I would need to know if he was the first to go? And quit just thinking about it, but start acting on it, preparing for it. And so there's that. And then even beyond that, of just being prepared, is knowing that like that old computer was going to have its day. We're getting old, and one of us is going to have our day. And when we do, are we just going to sit and stress over it, sink into a horrid depression? I mean, there is going to be grieving. There is going to be sadness and all. But would I let that overcome me and overwhelm me, overtake me? Or am I going to trust the Lord and know, okay, so here's where we're at now. This day has come. And I am going to miss him every day. And I'm going to be sad every day. But I'm going to keep on living. I'm going to keep on doing whatever it is God's called me to do. My grandmother, my dad's mom, when my grandpa died, he was 59 years old. And so she was in her mid-50s, and she was about the age when she was widowed as I was when I was divorced. And she she loved my grandfather very much, and she missed him very much, but she had made up her mind before. I mean, she didn't know he was going to die. It was a very unexpected thing. They had been at a meeting at church, and they came out of the meeting, and he stepped onto the sidewalk and fell dead. He had an aneurysm, and it was just that quick. And so they had called my dad to come to the hospital, but didn't tell him. Because we had to drive quite a distance to get there. I think it took close to an hour. And so when he got to the hospital, Grandma was waiting, and it was like, he died. He's gone. And I don't know if she ever said died, but she'd say he's gone, because she told us kids the angels came and got him. And so I used to be scared to death of angels, that they were going to come get me, because I was 4 when he died. And but Grandma, she had already known that she was married to the love of her life, and if he went before her, then she'd be married to Jesus, and she would serve him. And so she grieved the loss, and she hung on to my dad, her only son, to help her navigate through the legal things that she had to navigate through. And then after about, I want to say it was probably a year after he died, then she was like, okay, I am not going to pull my legs up into the bed and be done. I've got life left in me, and I'm going to serve the Lord. And she went into missions and went to Africa and was a house mother. Her daughter, my aunt, and her husband were there. And so she went and served where they were serving, and was there for many years. And then when she came back, everything was through child evangelism, and she did backyard Bible clubs, and she was, I think, a state director. I mean, she just, until she couldn't physically do it anymore, my grandmother stayed busy for the Lord. And I remember her, because, as an adult, she and I had a discussion one time, and she was telling me there were men who were interested in her and would try to pursue her, and she'd be like, I'm sorry, but I am married to Jesus. I am not interested. And I think that's who I am, is because I know I would, if Marvin goes before me, I will never remarry or look for love or romance, or no way, not interested. Wouldn't even go to dinner with a man. Nope. Because I've had the love of my life. In Marvin, I've had a good husband. I think any other man might be a disappointment. And I wouldn't want to run the risk of being in a bad marriage. I don't need to be married. I used to think I needed to be married, but Marvin has satisfied that. And I know I don't need to be. I love being married to Marvin, but that's to Marvin. It's not about being married. It's about the connection that Marvin and I have. And so nobody else would ever be him. And so I think anybody else would be a disappointment. And then I could just be free to just serve the Lord, and he would be my husband. So my mind is already set on that, like Grandma's. And I know there would be a struggle, and I would have to lean on some people to get me through some stuff that, and take care of some things. But then I would just want to be focused on the Lord and whatever it is he has for me. So all of that to say that my takeaway tonight has been from this computer is there was stuff I should have been doing before that computer crashed, so that when it crashed, whether it's going to be resurrected or not, everything's fine and I have everything I need, because I don't. I've got stuff on there that if this is the biggie and it can't be retrieved, it's lost. And there's some things that I'll have to just start over on, and some things that I'll just have to cut my losses, and that's that. But I'll be okay. It's just things. It's not the end of the world. And there are definite inconveniences, and it means learning a new computer, and, because I've got to be able to, there's certain things I've got to be able to do online, like this. And so, there's stuff that I'll have to do, but it's okay. But I want it to be a wake-up call to me that there are things that I need to do to make sure that if I were to pass, or if Marvin were to pass, that we got it covered and there's a plan and we know what to do. Because when you're in that moment, it's very hard to process things. I know that from other people I've lost that I love, and it's nothing compared to what it'll be when if I were to, when I lose Marvin. Look at that. Say, Marvin, I'm going to outlive you. But if he were to go first, what I would go through, there's no comparison. And I know that, like, even when my parents went, now my dad went kind of unexpectedly. I mean, we knew that he would pass, but we didn't know that it was going to be then. Thought it was probably still a couple years away. And so there was a lot of shock that I dealt with. Plus, it was one of those things where I found him, and that added to it. It wasn't like I was with him and, oh my word, okay, you're passing, and okay, so this is it. And it wasn't like that. So it was a double whammy, and there was a lot to deal with. And then just trying to navigate, because I was executor of the will and taking care of paying all his final bills and getting everything where it was supposed to be. And it was a lot, and it was very difficult to navigate through that. But my parents had they had a plan. So all I had to do was follow their wishes, and that helped. I didn't have to make those kinds of decisions, really. Maybe on a few little things that we hadn't thought of. But for the most part, the decisions were made, and all I had to do was do the work. And believe me, that was enough to deal with without having to make decisions. So, yeah, my little wake-up call. So I need to get active on that now and make sure, because there's still some things Marvin and I need to take care of, and make sure it's all set. Really, we just went through these snowstorms, and somebody was asking me, did we have everything we need? Had we managed to get to the store and get everything before the storms hit and everything? It was like, didn't really worry about that. And they're like, what? We're always, we're surviving. We're always trying to survive anyway. And so we live our life trying to be prepared for whatever might happen. And so, because you just don't know what all's going to happen. And with things in the world, I mean, the people in California and those fires, and, suddenly everything's gone. And now what do you do? I think that we live in a time when we really need to be thinking about being prepared. I saw this one woman on the news. They played this little clip that they had already put their valuables, paperwork that they needed to keep, family heirlooms and stuff, in a safe that was supposed to be fire resistant. And so they had to evacuate, and it was very quick, and they couldn't grab everything, and they couldn't, Anyway, they had left everything in the safe and just hoped it would be okay. So when after the fire had passed their place and they were able to go back home, and it showed her going out, everything was gone. You guys, there was like maybe one part of a wall still standing of her house, and that was it. Everything was burnt to the ground. And I just can't even imagine what that's got to be like. But she went over and found the safe, and she said, we don't know. Now, the lock was melted on it, so they couldn't unlock it with the combination like they needed to. And there were firefighters there, and so, they have jaws of life and all these other things. And so they came over and tore that safe, a side of it or a top. They got one section of it. They were able to tear off of it. And she got in there, and everything was okay. It was in there. And, and she didn't wait, though, until, this fire was going, because then run out and get a safe. You got to, they had done this a long time ago. That's something they deal with down there, are fires. And where we live, we deal with hurricanes, and now we deal with tornadoes too. Those are common occurrences. So, we should be prepared for power outages and having food and being able to keep warm and dry, and just, the things that you might need to do if you get stranded for a few days or whatever. So, we're not the people out running out trying to get a snow shovel. We've already got it. We're not trying to go, get this, get that. We've already, and if we don't have it, we know how to manage without it, whatever it is, to make do. Marvin and I both are amazing at that, at taking what we've got and making it work for what we need. And so, I never even thought about being prepared. I mean, well, I did kind of at one point when they were showing everybody, running to get snow shovels, and how they do when they, a snowstorm's coming. And I remember for a brief moment thinking, well, should I be running to get something, or, what would I go get? We're okay. We got what we need. And so it wasn't an issue. The food supply did, because we didn't go anywhere for quite a while. Well, it was snowed in. I mean, Marvin went out on the tractor and dug people out of their driveways and stuff. But, but that was it. We weren't out on the roads driving or doing anything for almost a week and even now the roads still, and it's been several weeks, and the roads are still horrible. There's still ice issues and stuff, and we still have snow because it's not going anywhere because it's so cold. And, but the things that you do to be prepared for all that. Well, so our food supply went down a little because we couldn't go get get more food or anything, but we had food here. I try to make sure we've got what we need if something happens. So I think about that for life, and I urge you, if you don't, you do some thinking about it and make sure you've got what you need if there's an emergency. If you had to evacuate, what would you take with you? What do you need to take? And if you couldn't take everything, can you just be okay with walking away from it, knowing it might not be there when you get back, or if you even get back? I mean, because that's what's happening to them in those fires, and that could happen anywhere. So, there's that. But for me, it's that life is not going to just always continue like this. We're not all going to be here. One day, this marriage will be ended by death. And have we done what we need to do to prepare for that? How do you prepare for it? What do I need to do? So for me, it's talking to the Lord, and as he lays things on my heart, here, you need to take care of this. You need to, because he's never let me down yet. You're not going to start now. Is following through with those things, and knowing that even though the heartbreak for whichever one of us was left behind would be tremendous, we're going to be okay. Whoever's left is going to be okay. And we both have told each other, keep on living, keep on breathing, keep on doing what you got to do. Okay. So there's my middle of the night ramblings. I don't know. That might be it for tonight. I might go to bed before the sun comes up. All right. I love you guys. You have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you later.